All right. Well, welcome everybody. We're excited to have you here for this amazing AI summit for dealer owners and their executive leadership teams. My name is David Bush, and I get to be your host and moderator today. I'm one of the co-owners of BDR.ai, and you'll hear a little bit more about BDR.ai from my brother. Jeff is going to be sharing some of his experience and his expertise on implementing AI and doing digital marketing and direct mail marketing for over 20 years to auto dealers. He'll have a lot of great insights as well. So as we get things kicked off, this whole concept of bringing this live Q&A and you can put conversations, questions, comments inside the chat feature. You can also submit questions. And if we have time, we're going to ask the panelists those questions. We did get a lot of questions in the webinar registration. So a lot of those questions will be the ones that are the first priority because we were able to prepare and to provide questions to our speakers so that they had a little bit more prep time. But the whole concept about what we wanted to do here is bring collective intelligence amongst all of the different dealer owners and executive leadership teams so that they could collaborate and share ideas in a group environment using chat features, but to also learn from the experts that are actually doing it. We're also going to have a short presentation from an executive. Chris Saraceno is going to be sharing from the Kelly Automotive Group a little bit more about how they're implementing AI into their dealership and into their entire group. And Andrew's going to be talking a little bit more about some of the work that he's been doing alongside of Chris Saraceno. So this is not about replacing CRMs or BDCs or replacing people. We're not getting rid of staff right now. We're hopefully going to show you ways to augment your current performance and productivity of your current staff members. And most stores, most of you already know what follow-up should look like. Oftentimes, we're just knowing that it can't happen consistently at scale. So we're going to be talking about AI implementation to improve productivity and performance of sales teams and marketing. And we're going to also make sure that you know where we've seen AI fail and where you need to be very aware of that because it can become a very expensive lesson to learn if you don't have that experience of others. So we oftentimes say that experience of others compresses time. And in this next 60 minutes, you're going to get a lot of experience from very wise people who have been doing this at a high level for longer than you've probably been doing it. But again, all of us have something to share. So please share your feedback and your experiences in the chat. You have an open forum to be able to communicate with those people that are here live watching the video. If you're watching a recording, we're excited that you're watching this as well. But I'm going to go ahead and give a first introduction to Andrew Schultz. Andrew's focus is on AI adoption, sales, and leadership execution. Andrew has been, well, I won't age him out here, but I think that it's going on 4 decades of being in the automotive industry and has a tremendous amount of expertise and experience and education. And if Andrew is becoming an expert on AI adoption, doesn't make a difference how old you are and how much experience you have. You can always learn something new. And it's my pleasure to introduce my friend Andrew Schultz with Theory of Five. Andrew, welcome to the webinar.
Thanks, David. It's great to be here.
Well, you've had quite a bit of a history with the automotive industry. To give everybody just a little bit of a breakdown of your experience, and then I want you to do a quick introduction to the interview that we did with Chris Saraceno. He was unable to join us today because of a conflict, and I think he was in like a remote island at a
He
meeting.
is. He
So
is.
we had to pre-record his session. But talk a little bit about your experience, and then we'll get into Chris Saraceno's introduction.
So I started in the car business in 1968, believe it or not, a long time ago, with the Ford Motor Company as an apprentice, right? Building cars. And I started in a plant in Philadelphia, and went from that to retail with the Faulkner Group, then went from retail to the manufacturer, and then went from the manufacturer to training, coaching, and mentoring, where I am now. It took me a long time to figure that out, David, but I love training, coaching, and mentoring people, especially in the automotive space. The people in the automotive industry work really, really hard. And I think they're going to work a lot smarter with AI for sure.
Yeah, well, you've been coaching leaders to adopt AI into their work processes and to be able to become more productive. and you've been able to work with Chris Saraceno and the Kelly Automotive Group. And so, talk a little bit more about Chris Saraceno and give him a proper introduction for his experience and expertise in the marketplace.
Well, Chris, I've known Chris for probably 35 years and Greg Kelly and the Automotive Group. Chris, the thing I love about Chris is always open, he's positive, he's inspiring. Chris is a great leader. He's always looking for tools that not only help the Kelly organization sell more cars, but also he's always concerned about retention of his employees, making the workplace a better place for his employees. And Chris is always open-minded. He's always open to try new things, new processes, new tools, and he has great patience as well. So if it wasn't for Chris Martinez and I wouldn't be working together with two of the stores right now.
Yeah. Well, we've got a great little video clip from Chris talking a little bit more about his implementation of AI. So let me go see if I can pull that video up and we'll go ahead and get it started. All right. Well, I'm here with Chris Saraceno, and Chris is a long-term veteran of the auto industry, and we're digging down deep on the topic of AI and integration of AI and adaption and implementation, and really just kind of moving through the change process. And Chris, you have been able to take some of these principles and tactics and tools that we've been talking about in the AI Summit, and you have made those shifts. And some people would say those are tough shifts. And if you wouldn't mind just giving everybody a little bit of your background and kind of your roles and your responsibilities, and then we'll jump into some Q&A on your experience with some of the changes that have been taking place.
My pleasure. And again, thank you for having me as part of this. But my name is Chris Saraceno. I've been in the auto industry for 42 years. Sold cars, F&I, sales manager. I'm now the vice president and partner of the Kelly Automotive Group. We have dealerships in Pennsylvania and Florida. I also was an author of the book, The Theory of Five, which was a bestseller on Amazon. And it's a pleasure to do this. And there's nothing I love more than working with people and seeing people succeed. I always say right now at my age, I always say my main goal is to support other people in reaching their goals.
Yeah. Well, I love the work that you've done and been able to really help people, leaders, to transform their lives using the Theory of Five principles. But going into your 42 years of experience, you have experienced a lot of change over the last 4 decades, going on almost 5 decades. Talk a little bit about kind of why that has become something that's just been accepted in your world rather than resisted.
Well, I mean, there's the one consistent thing about the auto industry is that change is consistent. I remember starting when you didn't have any computers. There was no F&I managers or business managers. You did everything yourself. You used index cards. You made phone calls out of the phone book, and that's how you prospected. But in today's world with technology, although sometimes people feel it's more challenging, it also makes it much easier because there's so much available information. And the key is not falling too far behind, and being one of the early adapters versus saying, I shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Yeah, and there's so many examples of competitors and other types of organizations that have brought change into the industry. And and when we were talking previously, you were mentioning some of the things that you've experienced in terms of competitors that have kind of reshaped the landscape. And so, if we don't change, right, as the common phrase from Jensen Huang from NVIDIA says, it's not that you're going to lose your business to AI. You're going to lose your business to somebody else that's your competitor that's using AI. So talk a little bit more about just the realities of competition, adapting and innovating faster than the rest of the crowd.
Well, for those of you that have been in the auto industry a long time, we understand how there's products that have gone away that were, wonderful products like an Oldsmobile, one of the, selling over 1 million vehicles a year, that no longer around. Saab is no longer around. Hummer is no longer around. Suzuki's no longer around. Pontiac is no longer around. Saturn is no longer around. So there's always things that if you're not adapting, you're going to change. There's big dealer groups that were around and were dominating that are no longer around. And then you have companies like Tesla, that direct to consumer. You have Rivian direct to consumer. You had CarMax come in and change the way people look at used cars. And I remember when CRMs first came out, and people were like, well, "Who wants to put all that information in a CRM?" Today, if you're not using a CRM, There's not a dealer that I know that's not using our CRM as a system right now to help monitor and work with customers and keep their files and to follow up and prospect. AI, what it took a decade for most dealers to use with CRMs, AI is going to take about 2 years to happen, and it's just going to make our life easier.
Yeah. Well, AI matters for many different reasons, but why do you think AI matters to your organization? Where do you see it filling in gaps and closing gaps that maybe were there before and creating new opportunities?
Well, we've have AI. We've tried it at one of our stores in service. It didn't work, and then we put it in two other stores, the same company. But we realized the mistakes we made. I think people think artificial intelligence is just going to make things easy. It's a plug and play. It's not. It's like almost the same as when you had a CRM. The CRM didn't do anything for you. If you didn't garbage in, garbage out. With the AI, if you don't have managers working it and helping grow it, so they understand what you want, and they're not actively involved, what AI will do is going to put a microscope under your processes and see what's working and what's not working. It's also going to put a microscope under your managers. And do I think it's going to replace managers? No, it's not going to replace managers. But what it will replace, managers who understands AI, it will replace managers who do not. The managers who fight it will not be around. No different than the managers years ago that fought our CRM and using that system and using desking tools. They're no longer in the business because they just are old school. They just didn't adapt. AI is going to move much quicker than what a CRM did and the DMSs did. It's going to move quick. So I think you got to jump on early and understand it. But please do not think this is something that you add and it's a plug and play. It's something that you have to put a lot of time and effort in, especially at the beginning of the first 90, 120 days. And you got to have your store leader, you got to have your leaders all involved in it, and there's got to be somebody managing it, looking at it. And there's going to be some mistakes at the beginning. And you have to understand that, no different than any new system that you put in. There's going to be some mistakes, and you just have to fix it. But what's going to happen, in my opinion? Like when the internet came out, people fought using the internet and having websites. If you were 2 years behind on that, you could catch up in a few months. If you're 2 years behind on AI, you're going to be 2 years behind because the system that's another dealer's using, that's going to be up and going, and it's going to take you time to catch up to that person.
Yeah, well, you have a major role inside of an auto group, and you are in charge of a lot of different stores and being able to really lead at the very top of the leadership chain. So, is there a strategic plan that you've created in terms of how you're going to adopt or an implementation schedule? I mean, how are you taking the concept of AI and saying, we're fitting this into our strategic plan at a consumable level because not every organization is going to be the same. Not everybody has the same staff with the same set of skills and the same level of experience. So how are you doing it?
Well, this has always been my philosophy when we pilot a program. We don't ever take it to every store at one time because it's too much. We typically choose a store leader or GM or partner that really is raising their hand and saying, I want this. Because if they want it, they're going to try harder. And then you give them the overview and the time and effort it's going to take. So we put it at one of our stores where we've had the same GM partner working with us for 12 years, the same service director for over 30 years at that place. And most of the managers have all been there for 10 years. They're ranked one of the top brands in their market. It's our Nissan store. And they've done a great job. So they embraced it. They wanted it. And my philosophy has always been is make it successful at one store so that all the other stores are raising their hand going, wait a second, how about me? Why can't I do this? And then we would say, okay, but let's talk about what it takes. Let's talk about the time and effort that it takes to make this happen. Just because it's working at this store now the last 3 months or 6 months, let's walk you through the good, the bad, and the challenges that they've had to make this happen. Too often I see too many dealerships out there. They find an idea, and if they have 10 stores, 20 stores, 50 stores, they want to take it across every brand. And I'm a big believer in crawl, walk, run. Get success with it at a store where people really want it and embrace it. Understand that the challenges that you have so you can take it to every other store then.
Yeah. Have a clearly defined outcome, have something, begin with an end in mind, know where you're going, and then actually have a plan of what it looks like when it's installed. And I like the four questions that say, every month, every quarter, come back and ask the question, here's what happened. Here's what we wanted to have happen. here's what's missing based on what we know, right? Identifying a clear AI point person with authority and accountability at each dealership that's making these changes is just what you said. That's important to have accountability. The accountability breeds responsibility. And then ask the question, what is next? And we learn some. We what do they say? We learn some, we win some. There's going to
Yes.
be a lot of learning in this process, but the person that's not learning is oftentimes the one that's failing at the highest level. They're going to maybe not make the mistakes by not choosing to be involved. Some people will, but they're going to be the ones that fail at the highest level because the ones that are failing forward, they're going to be moving the ball and having that process. And I know that the training is such a big part of your role in making sure that everybody is getting the adequate training. So why do you think the training is so critical at this level?
Well, what you need to have someone give an overview of what's going to happen. And at the beginning, it's no different than when we had I like to use the analogy of the CRM because we didn't just get a computer system put in to track people. We had somebody train with us all the time. Everybody's familiar with a product called V-Auto in the auto industry. And nobody just put that product in. They had coaches work with you. In fact, we've had that for several decades. We still, on a monthly basis, and some of our managers on a weekly basis, are still working with their V-Auto coaches to make sure they're looking at all the right information. That's no different with AI. You're going to have a coach that you're going to be meeting with at the beginning that they help coach you through this. I know we're using a company called AGS that's working with our folks. We didn't use them at the very beginning of our first store that we tried it on and fixed operation, and then they removed it and said, this doesn't work, but they didn't put the time and effort in. The new store that we put it on that is working right now, I can tell you the first 10 days, some of the managers said, Chris, can we get this out of here? This isn't working. And then when we had somebody that was accountable and said, okay, who's going to be accountable to make this work? Who's going to be meeting on a weekly basis with everybody on a daily basis? Who's going to be monitoring the AI and listening in? Because it's not a plug and play. It's listening in to make sure that it's adapting and it's doing what you wanted to do, and then just making tweaks and tweaks and tweaks, and you just keep tweaking it until you get it to where you want. Till right now that we're 2 months into it, they're all going, okay, we have more people coming in. We don't have them taking, it doesn't take bathroom breaks. It doesn't get sick. It answers their phones at night. Every Sunday, because we're closed in Pennsylvania at the Pennsylvania stores, because they have a blue law here. Every Sunday on a Monday, we already have half a dozen appointments that we wouldn't have had at that store coming in for service. Every night, we have 2 or 3 more appointments than we normally would have because people are setting appointments. So it was just a bunch of little tweaks that all of a sudden now everybody's going, hey, we're getting the return on investment. This is paying for itself right now. But the difference is we had somebody in charge and working on it and coaching people on a consistent basis.
Yeah. Well, I know that there's a lot of people are appreciating the fact that you're just speaking humbly about your own challenges and adopting and implementing. And so if you could maybe give a final message to the dealer owner principals and leaders that are watching this video right now, what kind of encouragement or what kind of inspiration and guidance could you give them based on your own personal experience?
Know what you're getting involved in. Check a few companies, call some other dealers that are using the products or the training folks that are doing the training for that, and find out to make sure it's working. Find out what challenges they had. Like I shared, it didn't work at one of our stores when we first put it in, and that's because we were unconsciously incompetent. We didn't really understand. We didn't know. We didn't know. We were thinking AI was sort of a plug and play because we heard what many other people heard. Oh, AI is going to make life easy. It it will down the road. But I can tell you right now, we are getting a return on our investment because the second store we put it in, we did it the right way. And was it easy? No. Were there challenges? Absolutely. But we kept making the tweaks and we knew what we had to do. So I would tell everybody, if you're going to do this, who's in charge? Who's the leader that's going to be involved? And when I mean that they're going to be involved, they're going to be involved every day, and they're going to be involved in the training on a weekly basis with the coaches that are going to help you with the AI to make the tweaks. Who's the company you're working with? Who's a go-to person at that company? Will those owners be actively involved from the AI company? Can you talk directly with one of the owners or one of the founders? Or is it going to be, hey, you just have a rep? Because I believe in today's world, AI is so new going into some stores. You want to have that connection with a lead person at that company also, that you're able to talk to one of the owners or one of the founders or one of the partners, and they could talk with one of the lead people at your store. So leaders talking to leaders and discovering. I think it would actually be a great item that I brought up, that you should maybe do a Zoom meeting once a month with a couple of different dealers in different groups, sharing what's working and what's not working, because it's going to take some time and effort, but absolutely, it will be a return on your investment.
Very good. And you did write the book Theory of Five to really help leaders and to be able to help them to improve the quality of their life and to be able to improve all aspects of leadership. Where can they get more information about the Theory of Five?
Well, you can go to 30of5.com, there's a website that gives you all the information that you would have there. So there's a growth series on there. There's books. There's the Theory of Five University. But the Theory of Five really is everybody talks about leave work and home at home. And after 42 years of doing this, that's next to impossible to do. If you really don't like what you're doing and you're not enjoying your work, your people that you love at home, they notice that. And if you don't have a good home life, and you don't have that harmony in your life. I'm not saying balance because that could be different, but you got to have some harmony in your life that you say, okay, I have to also enjoy my personal and professional life. So that's what the Theory of Five focuses on and teaches.
Great. Well, we'll put the link with the presentation notes and everything else. But thanks so much, Chris, for joining us today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, obviously, great insights, personal experience, vulnerability, talking about failure. Andrew, you've been a big part of working alongside of Chris Saraceno. And so, why is it that you think that so many organizations buy technology, but then don't necessarily get the return on it or see the results of it?
I think training, coaching, and mentoring. I think that a lot of times dealers buy different products thinking it's going to change a process or a culture, and it doesn't. And that's the big miss because culture and process is the key here, especially with AI. I like to say AI is automatic, but humans are not. But humans put the emotion into the process. Humans put the trust into the process.
Yeah. Well, where do you think that some of the blind spots are when it comes down to just, adopting AI into the practice? I mean, you've talked to quite a few dealer owner leaders. What are you seeing from blind spots?
I think the biggest thing is to set it and forget it. It's kind of, I spent a lot of time in automotive manufacturing. And when we switched from manual manufacturing to automated manufacturing, we could just run those presses on the automated cycle, but we just couldn't set it up and forget it. We'd have to inspect it, we have to watch it, we have to listen. It's the same thing with the AI. You're going to have to, it's not a set it and forget it. You're going to have to work with the people within your culture. Listen, AI is going to identify things very quickly. It's going to identify a very good process or it's going to identify a very poor process. And that's one of the biggest things that I see right away. Chris Martinez and his team, we're on weekly Zoom calls. We get on the weekly Zoom calls with the team and we go over the leads. We go over the how the speed the lead or lead the speed. That's critical because you have to respond. It's no different than any lead. The faster you get back to that person, the more opportunity you're going to have.
Yeah, and why do you think that the leaders should be thinking about AI in the same way that they think about salespeople or B2C agents?
Well, I think when you look at AI is going to give you an advantage that you don't have with some salespeople or BDC team members. AI is 24/7. AI is going to, in fact, I had one BDC team member say, "Hey, can you turn it off? We're getting we're contacting too many people. There's too many leads to follow up with," and that does happen because it just keeps running. But the quality of the lead and the quality of the campaign, and that's what Chris's team does very well. They're very adjustable. They'll adjust to your database, adjust to the kind of leads. Like we have an F-150 program going out specifically for that customer base because right now inventory is not good on the F-150. So we're looking to buy vehicles from our current client database.
Yeah. And what have you seen in terms of accountability when it comes to AI and how that works into the workflow?
Well, it's interesting, David, because I think dealers don't have patience with AI. In other words, they look for instant gratification. They look for instant sales. Well, we installed it on Monday. We didn't sell anything yet. I mean, it's very typical in our business, but I think the patience, the training, the coaching, and the mentoring is going to take AI to the next level in your dealership for sure.
Yeah. And I know that just some of the things that you've shared and things that Chris Saraceno shared, there's going to be a tendency to want to micromanage it. And that doesn't necessarily win either. So, what would be your encouragement to those dealers to give their teams some flexibility to even fail their way forward?
You know, I've been in training and coaching my whole life, and I used to say that people show them, don't tell them. Show them how. You know, coach them how. And that's AI is going to be different because it's not like the old lead system where you could just look at the transcript. Now, what people are saying is, you must be a robot, or you must be AI, or you must be automated because you got to watch. And Chris has a button called human takeover. In other words, the sales consultant or manager can instantly take over the lead and interact with that customer because we build the AI bots. They're very good, and you think you're talking to a regular person, but at some point you know you're not, right? So
Mhm.
that's that coaching and mentoring with the team members is very, very critical.
Yeah, so the takeaways that I'm hearing is that AI needs ownership, it needs scorecards, and it needs coaching. Those are the things that are the jotter downers from today. And I would just say adoption beats sophistication. So while you may have the most sophisticated system out there, if the team isn't adopting it and if it's not moving the needle in the right direction, simplify, simplify, simplify. And inspect what you expect, right? Have something that
Exactly.
is there to hold you accountable to, did this move in the right direction? Are we seeing progress, not perfection? Anything else that you want to share before we wrap up on your section?
I would say to measure everything, measure the quality of the campaign, take ownership for the campaign that you're giving Chris and his team. Make sure that when you develop your program, that you're going to take ownership for that as well. Take ownership for the process and track everything. Track your lead time, track your response time, track your closing ratios, track everything. Because AI can do that for you as well.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thanks for joining us, Andrew. And if anybody else has any questions, throw them into the comments section and Andrew can answer those in the comments. Just make sure that you do, when you post your comments, that you do share them with everyone so that when the responses come in, everybody can see those responses. If you want to send them to me privately, use the Q&A feature inside of Zoom and we can share those questions anonymously and answer them as we have time. So I'm going to move on to Jeff Bush from BDR.ai. This guy's like a brother to me, and it's because he's my older brother. And Jeff has spent a little over 2 decades selling direct mail to car dealerships, and that was one of his first incoming jobs as a salesperson. And he worked his way up the corporate ladder into actually owning a very successful direct mail agency. And back in 2021, he exited the direct mail industry, not because it didn't work, it worked extremely well. He just decided to pivot and he decided to move into a world of AI. So, Jeff, you've had a tremendous amount of experience doing advertising with auto dealers and executive level management teams. What do you think that they need to be aware of as there's this shift to more AI implementation into outbound and inbound lead generation?
Well, because I own an ad agency, I sold over 1,000 car dealers nationwide on the phone with 40 salespeople on the phone, outbound dialing. And it's funny, I'm looking at all the people on this webinar. I got Baton Rouge, the Benson Auto Group spent 100 grand, Denver, Stevenson Auto Group, Boca Raton, South Florida, I had Hollywood Honda, New York, I had Plaza Auto Ball. All these names are coming back to me of dealer groups that spent over 100 grand with me or my sales team. And I was thinking, I remember when the double truck newspaper ads, it was like 20 grand in the Orange County Register for a Sunday. And I remember dealers going, I'm not getting on the internet. I'm not putting cars online. And I'm laughing. There's still dealers running double trucks in the newspaper, just like junk mail. I sold $40 million worth of junk mail. I sold my agency and direct mail is still out there, but the media is going away, right? Everything's digital now. So if you didn't take a hold of digital as an ad agency, you're done. And I think dealers just have to be open to, hey, like you said, it's always changing. So this whole like what Andrew was talking about, AI, just adoption and using it. And what Chris was saying at his dealership, I remember all the Sunday closure laws, the Bible Belt, Texas, right? Michigan, Bill Brown Ford, biggest Ford dealer, top five in the nation, was a big client, and they'd be closed on Sunday. So the fact that Chris said, I can't have employees open, the dealership open on a Sunday, but I can have AI agents answering the phone, booking service and sales appointments. So my calendar's full on Monday. I'm like, that's phenomenal, right? Just how you can use AI in a simple way, right? Booking appointments, answering the phone. It's just adoption of something new. And it's difficult when everything changed from, traditional to online. I remember, you know, Pete Ellis Dodge, what did he have? The online car company. We all laughed. I think he sold it for $1 billion. I'm like, we were all laughing like this guy's, I forget the name of it, something online, but anyways, just, yeah, the only thing constant in the car world is change. It's just funny when I started selling car dealers at 20 years old. I learned a whole new vocabulary from car dealers. They taught me a whole new language. It was so much fun. I love talking to car dealers. They were just fun and did it for 20 years. And, now, owning BDR.ai. Another thing I just wanted to share. Remember when car dealers came up with the BDC department? Like, what the hell is that? What's BDC, BDR? They were the first ones. Car dealers were ahead of everyone in figuring out we need a department to work all these internet leads. And I remember when that came out 20 years ago, the car dealers tend to be ahead of everyone. I kind of stopped selling car dealers, start selling mortgage companies. And I had Quicken Loans and Loan Depot spending $1 million a month with me doing direct mail. But the car dealers were ahead of the mortgage companies in having these BDC centers, BDRs, internet leads, funneling. They mastered it, which was always funny to me because car dealers typically were a little old school, but man, they'd be ahead of the game and everything else. It was just fascinating to me because they had their ear to the ground, and it was fun to watch and to see where it's gone. And it hasn't changed that much. 30 years ago, I remember a sales rep at Longo Toyota with index cards selling 30 cars a month. Today, there's a guy at Longo Toyota on his CRM selling 30 cars a month. It's the same deal, right? Just different technology, and keeping up with it. So, yeah, I'm happy to be part of this. I'll quiet
Yeah.
down and let Chris talk. He's more Chris and,
No,
and
I want
Andrew
to I want to ask
expert.
another question. I want you to talk about the how you have seen AI strengthen relationships between sales reps and prospective clients and fleet organizations, and just thinking about augmented intelligence rather than moving away from relational conversations and having robots talk to everybody. There's a real value of having AI enhance the relationships that sales professionals and executives have with their clients and prospective clients.
Well, what comes to mind for me is I had 40 sales reps in a room. And if you've ever had a big sales team, you're dealing with crazy, right? You're dealing with alcoholism, drugs, you got problem. I mean, it was nuts. And every year I'd get sued, labor law, minimum wage, meal breaks, time and a half. I was like, labor law. And I'm just thinking, if I could do, instead of having 40 sales reps, if I could have 10 and the other 30 are AI agents that will not sue me and I don't have to track their hours, and labor law attorneys, dude, I got sued every year, 25 grand for a lawsuit because I didn't give them a 15-minute meal and rest period. I'm in I live in California. My businesses were in California. It was crazy. But to do that with 10 salespeople and have 30 BDR AI agents, what a exciting time to manage less people because people are difficult, right? I had 60 employees and 20 to 40 salespeople. It was nuts. I don't know how I'm still alive. The gray hair, you see this, the balding. So just to be able to hire AI agents and teach them to do a job where you don't have to have, manual labor, is just amazing. And we're doing that at BDR.ai. Instead of hiring 40 salespeople, we'll probably have 10 and we'll have 30 AI agents doing the work, selling, setting up appointments, generating leads. No more telemarketers. Oh, thank God. DNC, $1 million class action lawsuits, dialing illegal phone numbers. I've been in those. Those were fun. FTC down in Washington, D.C. at the courthouse fighting a lawsuit over we dialed a cell phone number that was on and it's like AI doing all this for you. It's an exciting time, and I think it's going to be more profitable, less work. My hair will gray slower, maybe. So.
So, what do you think that business development will look like in a modern dealership that's using AI? I mean, how do you see dealers using BDR.ai or other tools that are enhancing their productivity and performance?
Well, it's funny when Andrews just said, "Hey, shut the leads off. It's too many." I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's not happening at every dealership. That's happening at the ones that are embracing technology, forcing thousands of leads into the building, selling 500 cars a month. And there's the guy down the street selling 50 cars a month going, "We don't have any leads and the salespeople are all quitting." Well, that's a thing, right? If BDR and BDC and internet and lead gen can create more leads, if they're good leads, means more sales, right? So who's going to embrace this? Why does Bill Brown sell 700 Ford F-150s a month and the guy down the street's doing 100? They're both closed on Sundays, or they used to be. I don't know if they still are. But it's just funny to think about that. And, Galpin Ford in LA was a client of mine, biggest Ford dealer in the world for years. Reichardt Ford in Ohio. How do they do 1,000 cars a month and the other guy's doing 100? It's just all these tools and lead generation is a big part of it.
So, what do you think that what are some of the metrics that you would say that executives actually should care about when evaluating AI outreach?
Metrics with AI outreach is it working? Are we getting leads and are they qualified and are they walking in here buying cars? Are they in the service department servicing cars? I sold 500 service directors coupons for oil changes, right? For years, I did a ton of direct mail on the fixed op side. Then we moved into the sales side. But yeah, it's just monitoring results. You mentioned scorecards. Is it working? Or is this all fluff? We used to call digital marketing smoke and mirrors. Direct mail, we'd mail 10,000 letters, 100 people came in, we sold 20 cars, you made 100 grand on a $10,000 investment. It was proven ROI, digital pixie dust, we used to call it. Just digital this, but if you can't prove it, prove the ROI. Run the numbers, have a scorecard, manage it. That's what managers are for, right? Manage the scorecard. Make sure this is really happening. So I think you have to measure what you're expecting or you're just playing around, right?
Yeah, great insights. Thanks for joining us, Jeff. I'm going to move over to Chris Martinez, and Chris has got a exciting background being in the actual industry and then shifting into implementing AI and then now helping many organizations to scale using his AI tool. So, Chris, talk a little bit more about your background and what led you to this conversation today and some of the experiences that shaped your expertise and your experience in using AI.
Yeah, I started in the business 23 years ago, and it was a lot of fun, right? You think about, when I first started to, all the different paths that I took. Um, I've always been in some pretty big operations. When I started, I was at a company called CarMax. Not a lot of people would give me credit for being a car guy if I told them I was from CarMax, to be quite honest with you. But I felt like that was my Harvard, like that was my training in every department. But I helped them open 5 locations across the country. When I was there, they had 30 stores. I left, they had 100. And the last store I was at, we were selling 700 used cars a month. I took that knowledge to a store, Toyota store, where we went from 150 cars a month to over 1,000 cars a month. And everywhere I've gone, we've blown the numbers up and done some pretty nice things. So it didn't matter whether you were selling 50 cars a month or 1,000 cars a month. The same things that I always felt were the challenge were follow up. And I felt like, 2022, when I first heard of ChatGPT, I said, you know what, this is going to change the game for sure. And I started really going deep into what the capabilities were. Then I started seeing where you could connect the dots. And then we started, messing around with that type of technology. And then fast forward 2024, we end up looking at a product that was in the marketplace, and I saw how you could use voice agents to communicate to customers and actually sell cars doing it. And I quickly found out like that was a real thing. And I said, you know what? If I could sell cars doing this, I know I could teach other people how to do it and apply the 23 years of automotive sales experience that I've done, how to actually teach the agents, the LLM models, because there's a lot of training that goes into that, right? And a lot of people and a lot of systems that I've seen out there are not really, set up for, automotive. They think it's just a quick prompt and you're an automotive expert. It doesn't work that way. You really need to know psychology behind it, knowing how to get them and lead them to the next step. And that's kind of what I felt like that was missing in the space. This was after me using plenty of AI systems the store I was running. Last store I was running was a Mercedes-Benz store. And we looked at those AI tools, and they're like Andrew said, some of them were a lot of work. You actually had to teach it yourself, and they didn't really have a vendor that kind of already had the roadmap, the training material, and everything ready to go. And that's kind of how I jumped in. And that's what we found. We did the voice agents, SMS, email. We put all of them together in one platform, chatbots. And then the goal was, how do I improve conversions? And that's what we did. And we slowly but surely, we've got in a bunch of stores now, and we're literally converting lead to appointment set better than most salespeople. We're right now, we're anywhere between 44% and 50% lead to appointment set. And it's pretty amazing the conversions that you see when customers really believe that they're talking to a real person, and seeing those conversions in real time. It's pretty neat.
What do you think is the biggest barrier or barriers that you see when you're working with these dealer owner executives when it comes to adopting AI into their follow-up processes?
I think the biggest challenge that I see is what AI, and I think Andrew spoke about it, and I think you guys discussed in the beginning, was it does expose you. Like it exposes how weak or how strong you are. I can give the system and put it in a store, and I can immediately see some stores start selling a bunch of cars. They understand the methodology, they understand the whole playbook, and they start selling a lot of cars. And then you put it in another store, and their processes aren't quite tight. They don't really have someone that knows how to have the gift of gab or talk to those customers, and it's not as effective. AI did its job, brought customers in, engaged them, but then they don't know how to carry that handoff to the next step. And I think that's some of the bigger challenges I see is now it's a different type of training model. Now, before you're teaching road to sale, how to engage with a customer from day one. But when the salesperson or the AI is already kind of engaged with that customer, sets you up, teed you up, now you have to go in and understand this is the new process now is, okay, pick up where the AI left off, continue that conversation, and then now you can sell more cars that way. And that was kind of a learning curve the first couple months into the game of getting it into stores and teaching them is that handoff. Super important. And I think most dealers don't understand it. And once you teach them and show them, you still need to teach and show them. Like, what did I think Andrew, we were talking about training and coaching, right? Like a lot of these people don't understand. You can have somebody go to the gym for 5 years and look the same at the end of 5 years, or you can have a trainer and in 90 days you'll have the best body, you'll look at like the best shape of your life. And that's because they're holding you accountable and making sure that instead of just putting a 5 pound weight, they're adding, a 15 pound dumbbell to that set that you're doing, or increasing the weight and trying to push you to get stronger. And I think that's where a lot of the stores think that just because the guy sold, 8 to 10 cars or 12 cars a month, they should be able to sell more cars with this tool. But No, they need to know what the strategy is and how to actually have those conversations with the customer.
Yeah, need to have a good solid game plan. And we're closing up here in the next 13 minutes. If you didn't get your question submitted into the Q&A or into the comments, please put that in now. We'll make sure that everybody that asked a question gets an answer to their question. It just may not be live. But Jeff has a question for Chris Martinez. Jeff, you want to answer or ask your question to Chris?
Yeah, Chris, you starting at CarMax. That's funny. I remember when Circuit City closed down and they started CarMax, and I've got four adult children. I sent them all down to CarMax to buy their last four cars. Great experience. And I'm thinking, I wonder if CarMax has probably implemented AI. Do you think the dealers are beating CarMax or CarMax being the monster they are, pretty high tech? They've probably been using AI. So I'm just wondering, is the car dealers you think behind or are they ahead of them? I'm sure your dealers are using it and getting ahead of CarMax, but selling tens of thousands of cars, they're no joke. But the difference from working with dealers and helping them implement their AI versus coming out of CarMax that kind of started with AI, right? I'm just kind of curious about that, your opinion. Just because I've been out
Oh,
of it for a few years.
I'll tell you, when I left the CarMax 2008, okay, and
Okay.
I still believe that their technology back then was better than a lot of the technology I've seen today. And I think they actually announced that they have AI in their BDC center, and they have a big BDC call center in Phoenix, I believe. And they actually, I think, reduced the staff by like 300 employees due to AI. So it definitely is something that is top of mind what they're doing. I think it's a little clunky to be quite frank, because I've shopped them and tried to appraise cars recently, and it was not the experience that I thought it could be. But it's definitely something that they're looking at every day. I imagine a company like them, you know where I still seem to think that they may be behind on where the traditional dealer is at is their follow-up. They get so much natural traffic at their stores because most dealers push them that way and say, hey, if you want to compare shop, compare me to CarMax, and if I can't beat their price, or you see salespeople pushing them over there if the customer doesn't like their trade value, you see those kind of things happen on a day-to-day basis. But when I think about CarMax as where they're at today, if they use some of our outbound methods that we do on the traditional side, they could sell even more cars. It's kind of crazy. They don't really do that type of follow-up.
Nice. Thanks, man.
Andrew, you had a question for Chris as well.
Not a question, but more of a comment. I know a lot about Chris's background with CarMax and Dave or Jeff. I really enjoyed what you were saying about car dealers and not wanting to spend or spending money for advertising. I worked for a gentleman at the Faulkner Group that said, "I don't care what you think about the ad. I care about what the customer thinks." And he's so right. And I think what's going to drive AI is customers, people. People are going to start using AI. They're already using it, they just don't know it. We're using Alexa, we're using Google, we're using all of the AI interfaces, more and more and more in self-driving vehicles and everything that we do in our culture. When people catch on to how AI can improve their life and enhance their life, then it's going to really take off because people are going to love the products and services that dealers use to help enhance that experience. And that's the key here. Dealerships' experiences are going to be enhanced by the utilization of AI when people and AI merge together. And that's the key here, that adaptation, how people adjust to all the different things that AI can do it. I drive a self-driving vehicle. I wouldn't drive it any other way. At 75, I don't drive well anyway. So I need something that drives itself, right? Oh, funny.
Good.
But that's my point there, David. I just think that people are going to drive a big part of the demand for AI speed because that's what it is. If a dealer can speed up the process and provide a better experience, why wouldn't he use AI?
Yeah.
And
Well, I've got
Dave,
a few more questions I want to ask Chris. Chris, did you want to tag on to that real quick?
yeah, what I was going to say was it's such a powerful tool that, we just launched one of our stores last week, Friday. We launched on Friday. And within the hour of us sending out our communication, they called me and said, Chris, I just sold a car and I've got four more appointments tomorrow. And to be able to just understand the power of that, where, I've always been big on follow up, getting on the phones. When I was helping run that store where we're selling 1,000 cars a month, I had 85 salespeople. We had 45 people in a BDC. We were pushing people to get on the phones and 25 contacts. And 25 contacts didn't mean 25 calls. It meant you need to get in touch with 25 people. So if you need to call 150 people to get in front of or talk to 25 people, you need to do that. And so when I think about being able to send a communication with very specific wording that gets a customer to get out of their chair, get in their car, and then drive to the store and buy a car from you, it's pretty amazing when you can have AI do that. It's next level for sure.
Yeah. Well, I know we got a couple more questions and we got 7 more minutes, so let's go rapid fire on these. Quick answer to how should email, SMS, and voice AI work together instead of competing with one another?
I think voice for sure. We've tried it on an outbound side when we have the opt-in. Voice is very strong if the customer one answers, and your response rate on those is very low to begin with. Even take AI out of the mix. You usually have a 20% um, like we're engagement rate where people may answer the phone or not. Most of the time they leave voicemails, but where it really becomes effective is when people call back. So if we send text messages or emails, people do get that phone number and they'll just call the AI, where you'd have to have salespeople in the past answer those phone calls, and now AI can answer those questions intelligently, have those conversations, and build rapport and try to get the customer in. But text is still king. I'll tell you a quick case study. I've been enamored with voice AI. That's one of the things that got me into doing this full time. And voice AI, when we can actually have those conversations, when a lead gets responded to, I tested a dealer and he wanted us to do his Facebook ads. And so his Facebook ads, we would emit it, the customer would fill out a lead form, the customer would get a call directly. Within a second, that call would call that customer. And of course, you run into the customers not answering the phone, right? So the conversion rate was like 6% on those Facebook leads. Then I took that off and I said, that's just terrible conversion rate. We went to text messaging and immediately went to a 30% conversion immediately. So it's not, and those are just Facebook. On our other lead sources now, it's like 50% or even better in some cases. So it's just one of those things that it's going to be here. You might as well embrace it, learn how to do the strategy, because people like myself that will begin doing this are going to outsell you, take market share, and continue to, improve.
Yeah. What are some of the proven follow-up strategies for fixed ops and sales right now? What are you seeing that's winning?
So specifically for fixed ops is, when a lot of the stores have service past due, service due, recalls. Those are the easy ones. But when you can do like decline services and follow up with those types of services with a real sales professional, somebody that knows how to have those conversations and try to convert, that's the magic, right? Because yes, it's, who get an oil change, do all that, but get that big ticket item that an AI you can train and teach how to actually have a conversation with. That's where the magic happens.
Yeah. And you've had quite a few people that have, maybe had a bit of the AI kind of quietly burning out or burning away, fading away, if you will. Some people maybe kind of got on the innovation side of things, and then they got some resistance from the staff because the change was maybe not well supported, and maybe it was too fast, too soon, with not enough coaching and not enough guidance. So what would you say to that executive out there that maybe has been burned once before trying to be the innovator and now they're going to be the laggard on the back end of the innovation curve.
Well, I'll tell you, AI has been around quite a bit in automotive for a while now. And there was a lot of, it was more machine learning back in the day. The way the AI was more of a decision tree. If this happens, that happens. It was some automation, really. That's what it was. But people were selling it as AI, so a lot of dealers still kind of got burned on that. They felt like the salespeople, well, she's responding when we were there. You told her not to, and this and that, and so I get it. So that you're going to have that. But this AI is definitely different. It's real. It's like someone's really having a conversation with you. And of course, you're going to have those people that are they're going to say, well, but you can trick it and you can do this and you can do that. I'm like, yes, you're going to have, if you send 1,000 of them, you may have one person try to do some kind of trickery and, do something because they know you can do that. But we have a lot of guardrails. We've taught it. We've taught that the different agents. It's not a one size fits all agent. It's not a master of everything. Like we have specific industry, specific audience level agents that understand. And we even have it where you can A/B test me against any other AI. So if we have a CTA on your website, we can take over one CTA and then we can put it up against any AI tool and say, okay, let's see how that AI converts compared to the one I'm putting on your website. So it's pretty neat. And when you see it, a real sales professional that knows how to have those conversations with customers in sales and service, they convert at a higher level.
Yeah. Well, Jeff, you used to hate social media, still do to some level, but you've learned the power of it. And you acquired a company, BDR.ai, that actually leverages AI and social media on LinkedIn with email sequencing. And you're seeing the opportunities for fleet sales. You're seeing it for recruitment, for bringing on new staff members and going after affluent clientele that have a higher level of income. Average income of a LinkedIn user is over $100,000 of annual income. So going after affluent clientele, how are you seeing that being leveraged with AI?
Well, when I had 40 salespeople on the phone calling car dealers and mortgage companies, selling thousands of them, $40 million worth of junk mail, 2020, junk mail, crazy, right? Direct mail, printing me, $40 million. And I go, listen, get off social media, go dial the phone, go visit them in person, send an email, send a text. Don't do LinkedIn. Well, one day, one of my sales reps, LinkedIn Quicken Loans, set up a meeting in Vegas. I fly to Vegas. Quicken Loans spent $1 million with me, Rocket Mortgage, biggest mortgage company in the world. I'm like, crap. I guess I got to start looking at LinkedIn. I'm like, don't do it. Social media. It was just funny how I had that shift. And then my sales team started reaching out on LinkedIn and getting appointments and selling big clients. And I was in shock. I didn't realize how big. So now, as we try to come up with products, for car dealers, well, let's go after fleet like Mercedes-Benz of Temecula. They've got 200 Sprinter vans sitting there. They ordered a little too many before the economy dipped. They used to sell 50 a month, so they ordered 200. I'm like, well, let's get a hold of the solar contractors and the electricians and the plumbers and go LinkedIn and try to sell some commercial vans. So just looking at how to develop this product for car dealers, where do they sell B2B? Business to business selling, whether that's the fleet department, the service department for commercial trucks. So just because I sold so many car dealers and had so much fun with them, I'm trying to create the product for them. It's not what it was built for, but there's an application. So, anyways, that's yeah, my kind of thoughts on LinkedIn, B2B, lead generation, social selling. It's there. There's opportunity there.
Right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us for the AI Summit for car dealers and their executive teams. On behalf of Andrew Schultz, Chris Saraceno, Chris Martinez, Jeff Bush, and myself, we're just thankful that we had the opportunity to share this with you. If you found this video helpful, share the recording with others and reach out to us. I'll put all of the contact information, LinkedIn profiles, and contact information for all of the speakers in the show notes and with the video description. So everybody will have it, and we'll send a recording to everybody that registered. So thanks, everybody. Wish you all the very best in implementing and adopting AI into your business.
Thanks.